Psalms. Chapter 78. Verse 1. Give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. Verse 2. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old. Verse 3. Which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. Verse 4. We will not hide them from their children, showing to the generation to come the praises of the Lord, and his strength, and his wonderful works that he hath done. Verse 5. For he established a testimony in Jacob, and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children. Verse 6. That the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children. Verse 7. That they might set their hope in God, and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments. Verse 8. And might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that set not their heart aright, and whose spirit was not steadfast with God. Verse 9. The children of Ephraim, being armed, and carrying bows, turned back in the day of battle. Verse 10. They kept not the covenant of God, and refused to walk in his law. Verse 11. And forgot his works, and his wonders that he had showed them. Verse 12. Marvelous things did he in the sight of their fathers, in the land of Egypt, in the field of Zoan. Verse 13. He divided the sea, and caused them to pass through, and he made the waters to stand as an heap. Verse 14. In the daytime also he led them with a cloud, and all the night with a light of fire. Verse 15. He clave the rocks in the wilderness, and gave them drink as out of the great depths. Verse 16. He brought streams also out of the rock, and caused waters to run down like rivers. Verse 17. And they sinned yet more against him by provoking the Most High in the wilderness. Verse 18. And they tempted God in their heart by asking meat for their lust. Verse 19. Yea, they spake against God. They said, Can God furnish a table in the wilderness? Verse 20. Behold, he smote the rock, that the waters gushed out, and the streams overflowed. Can he give bread also? Can he provide flesh for his people? Verse 21. Therefore the Lord heard this, and was wroth. So a fire was kindled against Jacob, and anger also came up against Israel. Verse 22. Because they believed not in God, and trusted not in his salvation. Verse 23. Though he had commanded the clouds from above, and opened the doors of heaven. Verse 24. And had rained down manna upon him to eat, and had given him of the corn of heaven. Verse 25. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. Verse 26. He caused an east wind to blow in the heaven, and by his power he brought in the south wind. Verse 27. He rained flesh also upon him as dust, and feathered fowls like as the sand of the sea. Verse 28. And he let it fall in the midst of their camp, round about their habitations. Verse 29. So they did eat, and were well filled, for he gave them their own desire. Verse 30. They were not estranged from their lust, but while their meat was yet in their mouths. Verse 31. The wrath of God came upon them, and slew the fattest of them, and smote down the chosen men of Israel. Verse 32. For all this they sinned still, and believed not for his wondrous works. Verse 33. Therefore their days did he consume in vanity, and their years in trouble. Verse 34. When he slew them, then they sought him, and they returned and inquired early after God. Verse 35. And they remembered that God was their rock, and the high God their Redeemer. Verse 36. Nevertheless they did flatter him with their mouth, and they lied unto him with their tongues. Verse 37. For their heart was not right with him, neither were they steadfast in his covenant. Verse 38. But he, being full of compassion, forgave their iniquity, and destroyed them not. Yea, many a time turned he his anger away, and did not stir up all his wrath. Verse 39. For he remembered that they were but flesh, a wind that passeth away, and cometh not again. Verse 40. How oft did they provoke him in the wilderness, and grieve him in the desert? Verse 41. Yea, they turned back and tempted God, and limited the Holy One of Israel. Verse 42. They remembered not his hand, nor the day when he delivered them from the enemy. Verse 43. How he had wrought his signs in Egypt, and his wonders in the field of Zoan. Verse 44. And had turned their rivers into blood, and their floods, that they could not drink. Verse 45. He sent divers sorts of flies among them, which devoured them, and frogs, which destroyed them. Verse 46. He gave also their increase unto the caterpillar, and their labor unto the locust. Verse 47. He destroyed their vines with hail, and their sycamore trees with frost. Verse 48. He gave up their cattle also to the hail, and their flocks to hot thunderbolts. Verse 49. He cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath, and indignation, and trouble, by sending evil angels among them. Verse 50. He made a way to his anger. He spared not their soul from death, but gave their life over to the pestilence. Verse 51. And smote all the firstborn in Egypt, the chief of their strength in the tabernacles of Ham. Verse 52. But made his own people to go forth like sheep, and guided them in the wilderness like a flock. Verse 53. And he led them on safely, so that they feared not. But the sea overwhelmed their enemies. Verse 54. And he brought him to the border of his sanctuary, even to this mountain, which his right hand had purchased. Verse 55. He cast out the heathen also before them, and divided them an inheritance by line, and made the tribes of Israel to dwell in their tents. Verse 56. Yet they tempted and provoked the Most High God, and kept not his testimonies. Verse 57. But turned back, and dealt unfaithfully like their fathers. They were turned aside like a deceitful bow. Verse 58. For they provoked him to anger with their high places, and moved him to jealousy with their graven images. Verse 59. When God heard this, he was wroth, and greatly abhorred Israel. Verse 60. So that he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent which he placed among men. Verse 61. And delivered his strength into captivity, and his glory into the enemy's hand. Verse 62. He gave his people over also unto the sword, and was wroth with his inheritance. Verse 63. The fire consumed their young men, and their maidens were not given to marriage. Verse 64. Their priests fell by the sword, and their widows made no lamentation. Verse 65. Then the Lord awaked as one out of sleep, and like a mighty man that shouteth by reason of wine. Verse 66. And he smote his enemies in the hinder parts. He put him to a perpetual reproach. Verse 67. Moreover he refused the tabernacle of Joseph, and chose not the tribe of Ephraim. Verse 68. But chose the tribe of Judah, the Mount Zion which he loved. Verse 69. And he built his sanctuary like high palaces, like the earth which he hath established forever. Verse 70. He chose David also his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds. Verse 71. From following the ewes great with young he brought him to feed Jacob his people, and Israel his inheritance. Verse 72. So he fed him according to the integrity of his heart, and guided them by the skillfulness of his hands.